What was your first 90-day experiences?
I've lived that life.
Yeah.
First 90 days are a bit messy.
If you had to give 3 pieces of advice to leaders, GCC leaders who are coming into this industry.
The first thing is immerse yourself. The second thing, talent engine. And the third thing is be ready to fail, be humble about it, be vulnerable about it.
What are the challenges you would have seen with the mega-GCCs?
The systems, the processes, the trainings.
But it's almost like starting a startup.
Yes, it is like starting a startup. The only difference I would say is
One thing that nobody talks about, it's not in any rule book, but every GCC leader learns it by experience.
Indian ecosystem has a lot to offer.
Hi everyone. Today I have with me Saurabh Mehta, a veteran in the GCC space, about 20 years in the BFSI segment, and has worn various hats across the sector. So, Saurabh, welcome to the podcast and thank you for doing the workroom conversation with us today. Before I get started, given that you have 2 decades of experience across the BFSI industry, obviously much of it with large scale GCCs, would you want to just quickly tell us what have you been doing for the past decades, your experiences, your learnings?
Yeah. Thanks for having me here. It's a fantastic opportunity to reflect on the experiences over the last 2 decades. I started my journey with hedge fund, then moved to the banks. I have been very lucky to work with the banks which came very early into India. By that time, the processes were bedded, the culture was bedded. How do you work through various programs? How do you work through various business segments? It was a very ownership driven bedded environment when I started. Over the last 15, 16 years, worked in GCCs in various cities in India.
Mhm.
And then I started working with a smaller firm, a mid-size GCC, for which I moved to Bangalore in 2021. That has been the experience of setting up a GCC from ground up for me.
Mhm.
So it's been an experience which has covered the small to the mega,
Okay,
and
yeah.
that is the experience that I come with here today.
Excellent. And how do you differentiate the experience of something that which was your recent past, setting up a new GCC grounds up, to a mega one that you've worked in the past?
Yeah, from my perspective, the mega ones, you get a very finite way to experiment, especially in the banks. They are
Mhm.
regulated. You cannot do a lot of experimentation in there. However, there is ownership, there is work that you can do. But when you're setting up a GCC for a midfield firm, a mid-sized GCC, you're actually trying to balance a lot of things. There is no brand recall.
Yeah.
You're trying to set up the brand. Uh, there is no talent strategy to begin with. In fact, even setting up the first policy, the first structure,
Yeah.
who the first hires are, those are all the kind of decisions that you have to take as a
Right.
leader in that group, versus you're going to a mega GCC where things are settled and you are actually excelling in the work and the impact that you are defined for.
Sure. And the mega GCCs have multi-thousand, people working and
Yeah.
multiple processes running it. It's almost like running a company, at a large scale in
Yeah.
India, right?
Yeah.
What are the challenges you would have seen with the mega GCCs?
Look, from my perspective, the mega GCCs have actually had a head start.
Mhm.
And they have always been in that leadership position when they are attracting the talent, when they are going after the right cities, etc. So I wouldn't say them there have been massive challenges. Everybody in India has gone through a shift, is how I see it.
Mhm.
Remember when the GCCs started in India, it was only a cost play.
Right.
So even the mega GCCs, when you look at the DNA of the same, they were established because it was a cost and talent play.
Right.
Over the period of time, as the GCCs matured, the leadership started understanding the business, the people who were joining came from different backgrounds.
Mhm.
There was a maturity curve which the mega GCCs covered over a longer period of time.
Right.
And how did that change the ownership of what you can deliver, the decision making powers?
Mhm.
Can you do your promotions yourself, or do you have to go to somebody else in the headquarter to get your approvals? I think that muscle memory has come over the last several years.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why you see these still being the number one and preferred choices.
Right.
So the challenges really have been around getting those buy-ins
Mm-hmm.
from the senior stakeholders, delivering quality
Right.
successively, consistently before you are given that baton that, yeah, you are now the right person to make the decisions for us.
Right.
Compare that to the smaller GCCs.
Mm-hmm.
In my understanding, there is a wide variety of smaller GCCs. And when I say small GCCs, I mean anybody who's from 100 to 1,000 people.
Right.
Yeah. It's still very varied out there.
Mm-hmm.
You could be absolutely setting it up because of costs and talent access.
Right.
And some GCCs are still very intentional. They are already defining what kind of work and quality and deliverables we are expecting out of the GCC rather than just looking at the head count. So there is a wide variety out there. And it's horses for courses, really.
Right, right. You did mention that initially even the mega GCCs today started because of the cost arbitrage that we could provide to them, right? And of course, the volume of talent that we can bring or the skills we can bring. To today, a lot of it is about the value that we are bringing to the table,
Yeah.
right? How do you see that shift enabling more and more work coming to India?
It's an interesting question. Look, the value when you look at from a delivery standpoint, you have to start thinking about the actual business model, how the business is actually generating the revenue.
Right.
Most of the times, the work that has moved to India predominantly has been on the bottom line,
Right.
right? How do you start generating value? Are you able to develop a product?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to develop a service line? Are you able to develop a feature
Right.
which is actually generating revenue for the firm,
Right.
which generates something of an alpha which has been thought through, either
Mhm.
through a lab or through a project or through dedicated teams.
Mm.
And then you start seeing that the stakeholders in the headquarters, they actually start seeing that value coming through,
Value.
not just in terms of, oh, my cost is getting reduced.
Mm.
No. The narrative suddenly shifts to, oh, this is the team which is actually helping me generate revenue. Let's invest more in them. Let's
Right.
give them more autonomy. So that's where the value actually shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen that journey myself in my previous roles as well,
Mm-hmm.
where you start looking up, looking outside that, hey, we want your approvals to set something up.
Mm.
But over a period of time, you start getting the confidence, gaining the confidence from the stakeholders. And that is only possible because you're delivering value.
And you're able to get the right talent to deliver the value.
You're asking all the difficult questions. I think talent is a very intentional subject.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say intentional, I'm thinking about many dimensions. Are you hiring the talent for the culture that you're trying to build?
Mm-hmm.
Are you hiring the talent for ownership?
Yeah.
At the same time, it's a two-way street.
Right.
The organization should also be ready to experiment and give ownership to the people that they're hiring for.
Right.
Generally, to the naysayers and the skeptics, when we are representing outside of India,
Mm-hmm.
we tell the recipients of information out there very candidly, look, we have got billion-dollar firms
Mm-hmm.
here which have been technology savvy, which have been business savvy, and these firms have cropped up in the last 10 years. There are so many examples. So the talent availability is there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the pull to get that talent in your pipeline into the office?
Right.
Because you also have to respect what this talent is asking of you.
Yeah. Culturally, how is managing talent different in India compared to other regions?
Obviously, the talent in India, we all know, is I'm looking for the right word, but they want to get there faster in a shorter amount of time.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, it's the same that is there outside as well.
Right.
I think when we started, it took some time within the Indian population and talent and employees to actually start learning what good looks like.
Right.
And then over a period of time doing consistently,
Mm-hmm.
it started shaping up.
Right.
When you look at today, I see the talent is very homogeneous.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the talent availability and the talent shortages in the regions, in different regions are there. However, when I say homogeneous, somebody who is a 20-25-year-old
Yeah.
in, say, the US or the UK and the Singapore markets,
Mm.
they are equally exposed to somebody in India.
Right.
So the aspirational level for the talent exactly is almost the same, and that's because of the internet. That's
It's
because
because
of
of
the
access and opportunities.
access to information,
Right.
opportunities. You really don't really need to be employed today to earn mega bucks.
True.
You can be sitting in a room, come up with an idea,
Yeah.
be a fantastic developer, marketeer,
Mm.
and then you can make an impact out there.
True. So you mentioned, Saurabh, about the GCC that you set up from grounds up,
Yeah,
a greenfield GCC. What was your first 90-day experiences?
I've lived that life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, First 90 days are a bit messy,
Mm-hmm.
to put it very candidly. You can plan for it a lot. I come from a program management, project management background. That's in my DNA to think about how things will work, how things need to be scheduled. However, in reality, it doesn't work that way. For me, it was a little accentuated experience as well because we were doing this during the COVID times in
Okay.
2021.
Mm.
And I was also moving cities from Pune to Bangalore.
Right.
The first 90 days, you really need to be intentional.
Mm.
Some things worked, some things, there were a few learnings which we obviously adopted during the course of setting up as well. But the three things that really stood out for me was number one, you really need to know the why.
Yeah.
You really need to know the what. Why you are setting this up. What is the reason that the talent would join you?
Right.
What kind of outcomes you are expecting out of the people from here?
Right.
What would be the KPIs?
Mm.
These are the kind of things that you really need to front load
Mm.
before you start going into the market and say, hey, we are here and we are looking forward to get you hired on board.
Right.
The second thing is talent. When you're starting a firm, you might have a big brand out there in your market, but nobody knows you.
Nobody knows you. Yeah.
At the same time, the market for talent is hyper competitive.
True.
Everybody wants the best talent, and the best talent also has choices to make.
Yeah.
So, what is your EVP?
Mm.
You have to put enormous effort in defining those EVP, those job specs. Be very clear how your policies are going to be.
Right.
We did have our lessons in that space because we thought, oh, we have the building blocks.
Mm.
But when candidates would start asking why, then you start figuring out, oh, there are a lot of aha moments
Right.
where you think about, I need to be thinking about this too.
Mm.
And I guess then the third thing really is around communication
Right.
and cadence.
Mm-hmm.
The communication is on both sides of the spectrum. Your headquarters are thinking you are the person, and the team that you're hiring here in India, they are thinking you are the person.
Right.
So you have to be able to communicate
Both ways.
both ways.
Right.
For them, the way they are looking at things is very different, and for the people who are sitting in the headquarters, they are thinking about it very differently.
Right.
So you have that implicit responsibility and accountability
Mm-hmm.
to be the bridge
Right.
on both sides. I think these are the three things which, when I reflect on, really worked well for us, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it any different way.
I was actually about to ask you what would you do differently if you were given a same choice.
Yeah. Look, we did have a few lessons. When I look back at it, I underestimated how much effort it takes to run your talent engine
Right.
on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
We also pivoted our strategy. Uh, when we looked at hiring people, we were looking at a specific segment and specific industry
Yeah.
to hire people.
Yeah.
Soon enough, in the first 60 to 90 days, we also figured out that our talent brand wasn't there to attract the premium segment, so to speak, candidates.
Yeah.
And we also figured out that our clients and the people who wanted the work to be done, they wanted more dexterous and more agile talent.
Right.
So those were some of the learnings that came in very, very handy. So you have to be very specific, ask questions 10,000 times. What do you want? What do you expect this person to do? What will
Yeah.
be the success criteria? How do you want this person to be available? Do you want this person to be able to communicate fantastically, or do you want the technical skills to be
Yeah.
heavier?
Mm.
These are the questions that I wish I could have front loaded earlier back
Sure.
in the day.
Sure.
But yeah, there are learnings which will stay with me now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so clarity in, I mean, you did mention why, what, how is in your control. But unless you know why you're doing it, what you're doing it, what's the outcome expected out of the GCC that is being set up, I
Yeah.
think. And of course, like you said, just keep asking lots of questions to get clarity on what's
Yeah.
required to be done. You also mentioned couple of times about if you don't know the brand of the GCC coming in,
Yeah.
how do you attract talent? How did you resolve that, Saurabh?
We did a lot of marketing efforts. We worked with a few influencers as well. And I think there is nothing better than calling up the pools and the candidates.
Right.
When we started, nobody knew about us in Bangalore. Um, Proud to say there have been a few boomerangs as well over the last 4.5 years, just because people see it as a brand and people now see it as something which they would want to be a part of.
Sure.
And the way to build is you start drilling down the EVP, talk about it every day. You hire for the right culture, you hire for the right fit. People talk to each other. They start talking about why you are different. For example, in our case, in most other firms, you are working directly with your manager.
Right.
In our case, we differentiated ourselves by saying, hey, even if you are an associate, even if you are an analyst, you will be working straight with the partners and senior managers of the firms. That just gave them the alpha immediately.
Absolutely.
So, those are the kind of things people get excited about. And that is how we generated the EVP. Obviously, we went on overdrive on LinkedIn as well. That helped attract a lot of talent. So, I think these are some of the things which really worked well in our favor.
And retention was also equally high because of these reasons.
Retention for a first year GCC, in my opinion, is a bit of a challenge. It's a You start to think about retention when you start seeing an exodus as well.
Yeah.
It's not an afterthought.
Right.
But then you also start seeing what's the motivator people are leaving for. Back in 2021, the markets, people were having three or four offers. You can't really fight the market in that sort of a
Agree.
thing. However, once things stabilized, and how do you stabilize? Once you start giving people and they start trusting you that you are actually doing what the leadership has been telling you,
Right.
there is empathy in the leadership, there is psychological safety in asking questions, challenging people.
Yeah.
That's when start people start becoming more and more entrenched into the organization and culture, and that's when retention becomes a bit more easier. Obviously, you run separate other programs too, which are more formal in nature for the retention to work.
Given your experience with mega GCCs and also setting some greenfield ones, if you had to give three pieces of advice to leaders, GCC leaders who are coming into this industry or setting up new GCCs, what would that be?
That's an interesting question again. The first thing is immerse yourself in the GCC that you are going to set up, immerse yourself in the headquarter, have a premeditated ask that if you're a US based firm or a UK based firm, I am going to spend 2 or 3 weeks with the leadership over there, because you are the first culture carrier or evangelist for the firm,
True.
and that does not carry virtually. So you be there, spend time for a couple of weeks with the team, work with different business units, and just listen out.
Right.
There are a lot of people already outside who has some outsourcing, offshoring experience. In every firm, you will find them. Some are very positive about it. Some may be detractors as well. So you need to spend enormous amount of time talking to them as to what are their anxieties, what are the issues, What does it look like that might fail? What gives you comfort?
Yeah.
That exploratory conversation right in the very beginning in your first 90 days is extremely important. The second thing I'll talk about is talent engine. B, spend a lot of time on the talent side of the business, work with partners like yourselves to figure out what kind of talent strategy should be there, what works, what
Sure.
does not work. Speak to your contemporaries. And the third thing is be ready to fail, be humble about it, be vulnerable about it. You have not got everything figured out.
Right.
Everybody comes in with some experience. Some might be domain heavy in technology, some might be heavy in accountant, some may have worked in GBS. But when you're setting up a complete GCC, you're setting up HR, you're setting up finance, you're setting up talent acquisition, marketing,
Mm.
you're setting up the first compliances. You don't know everything.
True.
And that's the fun part of the job as well. If you're up for it, if you're curious, you don't mind getting stretched, then that's something which is going to keep you involved and engaged all the time.
Very interesting. And you mentioned as a leader, you don't mind being stretched because a lot of us end up working hours which are outside of office, and especially if you're working with global organizations. Because you worked in the BFSI sector, where the error ratios are supposed to be zero, extremely high pressured roles. What did that conditioning do to you as a person and as a leader? And how do you now pass that on to your team members?
Yeah. The zero tolerance culture in a banking GCC is a given.
Hmm.
That is why banks are what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It obviously means that sometimes you are going a little slow
Mm-hmm.
than you would perhaps want to move. But at the same time, it does appear that it all makes sense and everything starts falling in its places. The systems, the processes, the trainings, these are some points that happen in the banks, and there is a lot of effort that is being put through in the banks specifically in these areas,
Right.
and this gives you that scar tissue. You
Mm.
learn the hard way
Right.
because there's a lot of reputational risk, financial risk if things
Absolutely.
go south. So you are always thinking about risk management, what might go wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't worry about everything. There's a laundry list of 100 things, but you start thinking in terms of what's the impact if this issue crops up. So you're always ahead in certain ways. The second thing which I think about is when you're working in these structures, you start to put meaning to the effort that starts going in.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing longer hours, you start bringing in cause, you start bringing in meaning, and then you start giving it shape.
Right.
Initially, it may happen that, oh, this is taking 12 hours a day, I did not sign up for it.
Mm.
But eventually, things start falling in place. I mean, I wouldn't be here where I am today if I hadn't done those hard yards in the banks. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. And when you moved your own role from operations to managing a GCC end to end, what was the shift within yourself that you saw?
The shift is massive.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working in an operations role or a technology role, basically any role where the mandate is defined,
Right.
that itself is the answer. When your mandate is defined, you have 80%. Even as you grow senior, you know whether you're working in risk, whether you're working in
Yeah.
compliance, you know what you are on the hook for.
Right.
Yeah. When you're working in a GCC, everything is ultimately lining up to you in terms of accountability,
Mm.
and the shape also changes.
Right.
In the first 90 days, in the first 180 days, you're thinking about how do I get the basics in place?
Right.
How do I get my first functional departments, enabling functions, delivery functions, and the business cycle changes.
Mm-hmm.
2 years down the line, you're thinking about where is my revenue coming from?
Yeah.
How do I make it more efficient?
True.
How do I show more delivery, more initiatives? How do I bring more value to the firm?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a ever engaging role.
Right.
And yes, it does get lonely at times, and that's why you need advisors That's why you need friends where you can confide in
Yeah,
and then come out of it. So it's a tectonic shift. These are very two different muscles,
absolutely.
but one is first is actually the bedrock.
Hmm.
It gives you the reason why you can do the
Do
second.
this, yeah. But it's almost like starting a startup.
Yes, it is like starting a startup. The only difference I would say is in a startup, you actually also have to go out to the PE and the VC firms and pitch the idea and do the revenue. In GCCs, there is a lot of buy in right
Right.
in the beginning across the spends. Obviously, that doesn't mean that money comes in easy. You have to justify every spend and every dollar that is being spent.
Of course.
But at the same time, that is very different. However, the things that you have to do, it is much like a startup.
It's much like a startup. Because, like you said, you're on your own. You're trying to do various things. You also mentioned you to set up all functions.
Yeah.
While you look at business operations, people, everything has to be done grounds up, right?
Yeah.
So, wow, it's quite interesting. Uh, Also, given now with the whole technology shift, AI adoption, and all leaders, global leaders looking at India saying, oh, well, pass on my AI thing here, and then my costs are going to be low, and I don't need thousands of people. In your experience, how is that going to change the way we work in the future?
It's going to be different for different segments. And look, I don't have a crystal ball. I can only hypothesize given,
I wish somebody had a crystal ball to see what's going to happen 2 years from now,
but it
right?
would not be as fun though,
I agree.
right? It's just my experience.
Mhm.
Everybody is talking different things
Right.
with AI. Personally, I am very entrenched in doing things myself.
Hmm.
When I look at coding, you can get good quality code
Yeah.
using Cursor, using GitHub Copilot. When you are doing things which are very repetitive in the financial industry,
Yeah.
there is massive uptick by
Right.
employing AI.
Right.
But I also think that you utilize and build AI on top of your domain knowledge.
Mhm.
If you do not know how your GL works, general ledger works, if you do not know how the risk systems, risk types interact,
Right.
then what is it that you're building? What good looks like
Mm.
that you cannot define.
Right.
So, strong domain,
Mm-hmm.
which you generally learn over many years, and when look the progress looks very slow,
Sure.
that actually gives you a lot of impetus to build on top of AI.
Right.
I won't go into will there be job losses or not. I think efficiencies is part of the capitalist world,
Mm.
and that is what you see most of the time. But eventually, it's a differentiator and it's an enabler.
Right.
And I would rather say, instead of being fearful of it, embrace it fully, start somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of has created a baseline for everyone.
Yeah.
Anybody who has got 30 years of experience and somebody has got 5 years or just starting, everybody's on the same baseline.
Agree.
The difference is your maturity and the domain knowledge that you owe.
Yeah. So use your expertise and with domain knowledge and build it up to improve efficiency and productivity with AI.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. And look, these are the things that come to our mind at this point of time because we only know of these
we only know
possibilities.
that much. Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
If there are more possibilities that emerge, maybe AGI actually becomes a reality. People are talking 12 months. Some people are saying no, it's going to be 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
The disruption that's gonna come, it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
But instead of being fearful, you still have to embrace it. There's no other way out.
True. Yeah. So, sort of before we sign off, one last thing that I want to ask you is as a GCC leader, uh, what is something or that one thing that nobody talks about? It's not in any rule book, but every GCC leader learns it by experience.
So when you are starting a GCC, you
Mm-hmm.
have the mandate.
Right.
A lot of times where you do not know everything about everything.
Yeah.
There are specialists, there are SMEs.
Mm-hmm.
The Indian ecosystem has a lot to offer.
Right.
A lot of times people just tend to do everything by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to leverage the ecosystem,
Right.
right? As well as there are going to be times where you're going to be feeling extremely challenged on this journey. A delivery might not go as expected. Your first hire may not land.
Yeah.
You've already planned for productivity to start. There may be changes at the headquarter level, at the revenue level, at the top level, which you will have to, whether you like it or not, maybe execute.
Yeah.
So you have to be very balanced in your approach. You have to be super calm about it. Steady hands is what people expect.
Yeah.
And yes, these things only come with experience, and when you take a step back and try and balance both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
That's something which you learn on the job. And never say never.
Never say never. Yeah. Yeah, very true. Not an easy job, or not an easy role to fill shoes in. But yeah, thank you, Saurabh. I think it's been a great learning. Just hearing about your experiences, the sector that you come from is an extremely high pressured sector, and we realize the hours of work you would have put in with all the wonderful insights you shared with us. So thank you for doing this with us, and we look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thanks, Niti. This has been fantastic,
Thank you.
and congratulations to you and your team that is doing fantastic job at Team Leads. Thank you.
Thank you.